My sisters were a part of Biola Youth Theater before I was, and when I got into it, it really came to mean a lot to me. So the story that I want to tell you about is a callback that I did for one of their shows. I know that most of the time when we think of high school theater, we think of some really sucky performance where no one can sing, no one can act, no one can dance. I'm happy to say that that's not BYT, so I felt really fortunate to get to be a part of this program. The show that we were doing that spring was Fiddler on the Roof, and for those of you that are not very familiar with the plot, it's about a Jewish man named Tevye in pre-revolutionary Russia who figures out that his traditions aren't going to save him from the changes that are happening. Now, the way that the callback works is that you have a dancer callback and an actor callback. I didn't make it into the dancer callback. I'm not a very good dancer. I was definitely not going to be the dancer that balances the champagne bottles on their heads. Yeah, that was something that we did in this show. It was pretty ridiculous. But I did make it into the actor callback. Now I have to tell you, there's 60 to 80 kids that come into this callback, and they're all gunning for the same roles. There's more girls than there are guys. And the role that I really wanted was the role of Tevye's second eldest daughter, Hodel. She had the prettiest solo, and I just thought that she had the best love story. So one of the things that I remember from that day was going in for the role of Frumis Sarah. It was a bit part. I really didn't want it. She's a ghost. She runs around the stage yelling things about how she's gonna kill Tevye's daughter and like something about pearls, and I was like, please, God, no, please don't let me get that role. I think I'd die. So the day goes on. I'm called back in for several different kinds of roles and singing a bunch of different parts. But finally we get down to the end. And the way that it works is that they start out with all the bit parts, and then slowly they narrow everything down and they get down to the core cast, the main cast. And I had stayed till the end. So I'm handed 3 sheets of paper with 3 different scenes, one for Tevye's wife Golda, another one for his eldest daughter Zeidel, and the last one was for his second eldest daughter Hodel. So we're all called into the theater and we're all sitting on the stage in front of the director, and I look around me and I'm like, oh my gosh. These are all people that I had seen in the shows before. These are all like big players in the company. I couldn't believe I'd made it this far. This was my second callback. So I get up and I read for Golda twice. I read for Zeidel twice, but I only read for Hodel once. And I didn't know the guy that I read opposite, but we did really good together. I felt so electric in that moment. I sit back down. And everyone's looking around and they're like, oh my gosh, like that was really good. And I was like, really? That was good? Oh my gosh, that was good, yay! The second thing that you have to know about a callback at BYT is that everyone is so encouraging. Everyone supports each other. I know that a lot of the times in theater, people are cutthroat and they're mean and they do things to sabotage each other, but that's not BYT, I'm happy to say. So the next day, all there's left to do is wait for a phone call. I wait pretty much all day. It took forever. It seemed like it was an eternity. Around about 3 o'clock, I'm sitting down watching a movie with my family. We'd all come home from church and we were all just hanging out. And I'm waiting for the phone call. The best thing that I can hope for is that the director will call me, or the choreographer, because that means there's a good chance that I got a lead role, that I got something. And so over the phone, I hear the voice of the music instructor. She works with the ensemble, and I think, oh my gosh, I didn't get it. I'm in the ensemble, aren't I? And I get a lump in my throat and a sinking feeling in my chest. And then her voice comes over and she says, Hannah, we would like to offer you the role of Hodel. I'm like, what? What, are you serious? I'm thinking this in my head, but on the outside I'm like, yes, I accept the role. And I'm very happy to say that that was one of the best shows that I ever did. And it really showed me what I really wanted. It was a sign of what I could do, and I realized I wanted to be a director. And I will always cherish that callback and that show. Thank you.